Two Christmases ago, I don't know if you can put your mind back that far. 2 Christmases ago, there was the promise of 5 days of being able to be in the presence of loved ones, of families, of friends after 9 months of screens and FaceTime and lockdown. And it was, I don't know about you, but I was getting so excited that, family, friends, people I loved were going to come over and we were going to be with them. And then what was dangled was removed. And it was really hard, wasn't it? It was really difficult because we spent a Christmas alone. Many families, many people. And, Zoom and FaceTime and other things really didn't do it justice. And why is that? Well, the reason is we are relational beings. We've been created to be in relationship with one another. And last year we were able to, and it was great, wasn't it? The masks came off and we were able to gather, we were able to, meet all around, up and down the country. Our family, our friends, our loved ones were with us. But after a day or two, that's when the frustrations and the irritations came in. So on the third day, I remember Boxing Day, my son, he dropped my mother-in-law's coffee all over their lovely glass cabinets. And, my in-laws were really not happy with that because all their precious fossils and ornaments and so on that they'd collected over the years got ruined. And my mum was fed up of not having Indian food and so on. You can relate, can't you? This happens when you meet with people whom you love. And this year again, families, friends, loved ones, we're going to gather again. We're going to be in the presence of others. And I'm also aware that for some, family are going to fly over long distances to be here. And I know still some, you might not get the opportunity this Christmas to spend time with your loved ones. But whatever the situation you find yourselves in, the true meaning of Christmas is something that we all need to grasp. Regardless of whether we're gathering with family or friends, we need to know that we're never alone, because the true meaning of Christmas is God with us. If you find yourself alone this Christmas, you're not. Matthew 1 verse 23 says this: "The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel," which means God with us. And we're going to focus on 3 words: God with us. Let's start with the first of the 3 words, God. And let's unpack that. The Bible says, and all of us who believe here at All Nations believe there is one God who exists in 3 persons, Father, Son, and Spirit. And they all existed before the creation of the world. They were self-sufficient. They didn't need to create anything or anybody or the universe. They were in a perfect relationship with one another. They didn't need creation. And God had always existed, the almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing God, who is not like us, but compelled by his love. His love exploded, and he made the universe. He created. He created the world. He created everything in it. He created me. He created you. And God walked with people, and he talked with people, and he was with them, in relationship with them. People were made to be in relationship with the living creator God. Let me be clear. The Bible says one God, 3 persons, all-powerful, all-knowing, the loving creator and sustainer of everything. And perhaps you're listening to this and you find that what I'm saying a bit far-fetched, a bit hard to get your head round. If you had a list of choices about where you stand in terms of your belief, you'd tick the box, I don't believe in God. Or perhaps you're listening and you're thinking, see, I'm convinced that God exists, but the God of Islam or the God of Hinduism is the one whom I follow that is different to the God of Christianity. Or perhaps you're sitting there and thinking, you know what, I don't know what all the fuss is about. God is one and Islam have one way of explaining it, Hindus another way, and Christians another way. So let's just all get on. If you fall into any of those categories, all I'm asking is that you listen and you hear a little bit about the God of the Bible, the God who changed my life, the God who changed the life of many people in this room. And Christians, here's the thing for us, right? We know this up here, don't we? And some of us have been for years and years and years. I can't number what number Christmas this is. And it's so easy for God with us to grow a bit cold and jaded, and over familiarity just means we lose the awe and the wonder and the brilliance of doing it. And in the busyness of Christmas, being, dragged from one party to the next with presents to wrap and cards to write, and family pressures and deadlines to finish before the holidays, it's really easy, isn't it, not to spend some time thinking about the real meaning of Christmas. Let's take some time this Christmas to remember that first Christmas, God with us. We've done the first word, God, the next two, with us. And together it's God with us. Now, if you're listening carefully, you would have heard me say that God created, and when he created the world, he was with us. And so it makes you think immediately, well, thousands of years on, what on earth is this all about? The child to be born, who would be called Emmanuel, God with us, because God was with people. So what happened? Did he go away for a period? It's a good question, isn't it? And the Bible's answer is this: something went horribly wrong between God and people. See, when God created the world, it's not that God went away, but that we went away from him. We pushed him away. We turned our backs on him. And here's the thing: God didn't create us as robots to be coerced to do what he wanted us to do, but to be able to make the free choice as to whether we would live his way or not. Because that's the essence to what it means to be in relationship with someone else. It's a two-way thing. It's got to be reciprocated. If you're wanting to be with someone, you've got to reciprocate back. And although God wanted to be in relationship with people, people didn't want to be in relationship with God. And the Bible calls this sin, which put simply means rebellion against God. It's a rejection of him, a denial of his existence, the thinking that I know better than God, the heart desire to live my life, my own way, in accordance with our wants and our desires, rather than him as the maker and creator. Because deep down, let's face it, we love being in charge. We want to be in control of our own lives and our future destinies. And even as Christians, we know it is like the battle of the kings, isn't it? We want to be in charge, even though we know who is in charge and who is in control. And sin meant that we could no longer be with God. We rejected him, we hurt him, we pushed him to one side, we turned our backs to him, and so we were separated from God. And the reality is sin makes an absolute mess of the world we live in, the creation that he's made. Not just the broken relationship with God, but with each other. And I don't need to tell you, you know this, you just look around society and it's this brokenness that you observe. And it stems from a broken relationship with God. And the results, the symptoms of that: disease, sickness, wars, famine, disappointment, despair, broken relationships, broken homes, and the ultimate separator, death, the undeniable reality. We want to be in charge and in control. We think our way's the best way, and it doesn't go well. And maybe you're there thinking, well, I'm actually quite comfortable and happy with my life without God in it. But deep down, are you truly content? Are you truly at peace? You can't deny that you've had your fair share of frustrations and disappointments and times where you've hoped to do one thing, achieve something, and it just hasn't worked out the way you'd like. You can't deny the reality of sickness and death. And perhaps you've believed God all your life and you've followed your particular religion, but you're still searching for more, something better, because in some sense that belief system has failed you. You just can't, it's let you down. And rather than clarifying who God is, it's actually confused you and muddied the waters and failed actually to make sense of the world you live in and to make sense of yourself and your everyday experience. And I can testify personally that I used to be a nominal Hindu for about 20 years, and I was trying to make sense of my experience and life and suffering, and it came to a point where I did believe in God because I looked around the world and thought there's got to be a creator and a maker, but my own belief system failed to do it. And I was trying to reach up. I was trying to make sense of him, myself, and ask questions, and I just couldn't figure it out until a Christian very lovingly challenged my way of thinking. He turned it upside down, on its head, and he said, look, Rick, let me tell you how the Christian faith is different. It's distinct to any other belief system or religion. See, it's not about us trying to figure God out or go up, but he came down to be with us. It's based on truth in the Bible. That's the claim. God came down to be with us. And it's what this verse testifies. The all-powerful, the all-knowing, supreme creator God. He didn't remain up there, distant, remote, in the comfort of his own being. Otherwise, he would have never have created. But compelled by his love, he took the initiative. He came down. He sent his one and only son as a baby. Matthew's eyewitness account records the true events over 2,000 years ago. Chapter 1, verse 23. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. As we heard from the family slot, Jesus was no ordinary baby. As ordinary as he looked, as meek and humble the circumstances were, he was no ordinary baby. Fully God, fully man. Not a Superman, not a little bit of God squished into a tiny baby. Fully God, fully man. And I appreciate volumes and volumes of books have been written about this. There's an entire shelf in one of my studies on this, and it's really hard to wrap your head round. If you want to know more, I'd be happy to chat, as would a biblical scholar who's amongst us. Jesus is God with us. He entered our world that first Christmas, not just to make God known, but to bring us back to God, to reconcile us to him. And Jesus did this by living the perfect, sinless life that weakened on our behalf, enduring trial and suffering and death. And why did he die? Well, the punishment for the way that we treated God, the punishment for sin, was death. But he did it so that we would be spared that if we believe in him. And 3 days after, he rose again. He defeated death to show that he was the only person who could do this. He was the only person who could save from sin and death and bring us back into a right relationship with God so that we can be reconciled to him, so that we could be with God, so that God could be with us. And truth is this, for most of us here, this is very familiar territory, but we need reminding, don't we? Because, like I said at the start, it's so easy to lose the awe and the wonder and the mystery of the true meaning of Christmas as we get distracted with family and friends and frolics and fun and festivities. So can I just urge you this Christmas, spend some time afresh, spend some time in the mystery of the first Christmas, the awe and the wonder. God with us, which is so brilliantly life-changing. And let's remember, Jesus, as a man, you see, he experienced the full range of emotions that we go through as people. Hunger, thirst, sadness. He wept. There was sorrow. There was joy. There was loneliness. There was hurt. There was compassion. So, I don't know how you're feeling now, but there will be various emotions in this room. He gets it. He understands. He is a personal God. And Jesus went to the cross to reconcile us to God, despite all the ways we'd mistreated him. And he's bigger than all these things, being very God. And so he's the only one whom we should put our trust in. Because in all the circumstances, in all the situations, in all the struggles we find ourselves in, it might not be that those will be taken away, but we can trust that he gets it and he's bigger than it. And a few here might be quite cynical of this because, like I said, it's a bit far-fetched, a bit hard to get your head round. Others, it may have ignited a curiosity and you've got more questions. Still others, perhaps you really are searching, you really are looking, you really want answers. Whichever camp you find yourself in, cynical, curious, or searching, I would love to have a conversation with you after. And if you want to dig deeper into anything you've heard tonight, you'll be pleased to hear we're running a Hope Explored course, 3 evenings, 11th, 18th, 25th. Here, details on the cards there. It's going to be really relaxed. Drinks, nibbles, come with any question. It's a great opportunity to come to if you're here tonight. And Christians here, just be thinking, is there someone that I could bring to this? It could even be that I want to come just to be, because I know someone who I'd like to do it with, perhaps personally, so I'd love to know how to share my faith. If that's you, it would be a great thing to come to. And here is it's a short 1-minute trailer of what's in store in Hope Explored. Enjoy.